Ron, you want to grab that door? We can shut that door. We'll have to leave that one open because executive session is when they're, okay, thank you, Tina. You ready? Okay. Good evening. This is the City of Groton Mayor and Council meeting for Monday, April 4th, 2022. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Present, we have Mayor Keith Hedrick, Deputy Mayor Guinevere Depot, Councilor Rashad Carter, Councilor Lisa McCabe, Councilor Paul Norris, Councilor Christine Piazza, Councilor Stephen Sheffield, Director of Finance Ron Uhas, and City Clerk Megan Peters.
Okay, thank you. Please stand to salute the flag. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Recognitions, awards, and memorials. Anyone? Okay, moving on. Receipt of citizens' petitions. Is there anyone here for citizens' petitions tonight? Okay, we'll move on. Approval of minutes. I'd like to have a motion to approve the mayor and council minutes of March 21st, 2022.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Whoops, sorry, wrong meeting. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. I'd like to have a motion to approve the committee of the whole minutes for March 28th, 2022.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any corrections to these minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Communications and reports. Councilor Norris.
None, Mayor.
Okay, Councilor McCabe. Councilor Sheffield.
Just attended the three-on-three highway budget discussion we had, and that's all.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Piazza.
Nothing to report, thank you.
Councilor Carter. Deputy Mayor Depot.
I also attended the 3-on-3 budget meeting with the 3 town councilors discussing the highway budget. We are, that budget goes in front, I'm sure you'll probably mention this, but it goes in front of the town council this Saturday, and then we'll kind of know where to go from there. I just want to let people know, in case they don't already, that we are working on, we talked about it in the last meeting, I think, or at some point, but the Shore Avenue wall, we've been working on it for a couple of years. I say we, but it's not me, it's the staff. But and that is something that we're trying to put in the budget to get that repaired before it falls apart. And if you are so inclined to support that project, please feel free to contact your town councilors as well to express your support for repairing the Shore Avenue wall, because it's in disrepair and we need to repair it. And lastly, I think the last food box was in between, but the next food box distribution is April 22nd, I believe.
It is.
On Friday. And once again, if you are in need of food, or if getting food will help you pay a bill like your electric bill, please contact the mayor's office. We deliver them anywhere in the city. I dropped off 10, I think, last time, and I have a truck, so I can pack as many in there as people need. So please feel free to contact us if you need a food box or directions or help. Please contact the mayor's office.
Absolutely.
That's all.
And that's 860-446-4101. And that's 860-446-4101. That'll get you to my desk. And we will take your information. We will get you food. Who else? Clerk Peters. Anything? Okay. Finance Director Uhas.
Nothing to report.
Okay. So before I report, I want to address council. There was some questions last week, and Deputy Mayor Depot sent us some questions regarding the purchase power adjustment. And as a result of that, I've invited Groton Utilities to come and speak about that, speak about the PPA, and speak about going into effect and why we need the PPA and why now. So, Aaron, I'll bring you up. And just briefly introduce. Okay, Megan, we don't have audio. So we'll need to. Well, the mics are on, but that one switch may not be. Sean just sent me a text.
They're on in here.
Is that one slide switch up?
Yeah, your mic was definitely on.
Okay. Would you mind reaching out to Sean? He just texted me. We are going to hold on because I want this information captured. None intended.
I know.
Well, there's a couple switches in there. We do a live feed, which is, we're doing live feed now. We also go live to YouTube, and we go to a disc, not a disc, but a card that's in there, so we're capturing all this. And Sean Greeley, who's in charge of all the production, texted me and said that he couldn't hear me. The awkward pause.
Yeah, it's definitely not here. All our mics are on. You can hear the mic. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay. So what's that? All right, bye-bye. We have audio on YouTube. It might be a Comcast issue.
Okay,
It's on TV, but they're not hearing audio.
okay. Well, the good news is we're taped and people can put it on.
Yeah, it's not our system.
Okay,
It
thank
might
you.
be a TV system.
All right, with that, Aaron, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. So my name is Aaron Brooks. I'm an Associate General Manager for Groton Utilities. Thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council for letting me speak here today about Groton Utilities purchase power adjustment and transmission cost adjustment. In March of 2021, Groton Utilities did go through a rate case. The rate was approved, so we have an approved rate and ordinance. A component of that rate is two variable components. They're variable mechanisms specifically designed to allow adjustment based on wholesale market influences. One of the reasons, or actually there's a couple different reasons, but I wanted to go into the wholesale electric markets a little bit just so you get a little high-level overview with what we're seeing in the markets. So the wholesale market in New England is operated by the Independent Station Operator of New England, or ISO New England. They oversee all the wholesale electric markets for our region. Out of their power mix, approximately 50% of their mix is natural gas. So typically, the electric market is actually set based on natural gas prices because of the power mix that they have. And New England has some further volatility because there's transmission supply issues coming into the region in regards to natural gas that puts further pressure, especially during the heating season, as more people are using natural gas to heat their homes and businesses. But this winter was especially high, and I'm going to give you some kind of key highlights that we saw from this past winter. In January of 2022 versus January of 2021, natural gas prices were up over 300% year over year. Wholesale electric prices were up 240% year over year. Depending on the metric that you're looking at, this is either the first, second, or third highest electric market in ISO New England history. From February of 2022 to February of 2021, again, natural gas prices up over 70% this month, or in February. Electric prices up 50%. What's a little scary is the overall usage in New England during February was actually down 1%, and yet the pricing was still that much higher than the year before. That was the 7th highest energy market in ISO New England history. For this reason, Groton Utilities had to enact and increase the purchase power adjustment and transmission cost adjustment, the PPA and TCA. The PPA is being increased to 2.56 cents, and the TCA is being increased to 0.16 cents for a total of 2.72 cents per kilowatt hour. This is applicable to all rate classes, so residential, commercial, industrial, and for the residential ratepayer, it does result in about a 17% monthly, or 17% increase, or $19 per month increase on their electric bill. I'm proud to actually sit on a team that did everything we felt we could to mitigate those impacts to the end user. We absorbed over $3.5 million in additional power costs this past winter that will not be passed on to the customers. We're implementing the PPA and TCA now because any delay in action would only increase the likelihood of a more drastic increase in the future. Also, by implementing now, which is springtime, the average household has lower usage and thereby will be impacted less now than if we enacted this later. Groton Utilities will continue to work with all of our customers and community partners to fight energy insecurity. We work with Groton Human Services, TVCCA, the United Way, along with many others, and we will always work with our customers to the very best of our abilities. We also have a variety of conservation programs that customers can take advantage of, including a free home energy savings program, completely free to any ratepayer. And in the last year, we've done over 74 separate home energy savings and insulation projects. And even after this purchase power adjustment and transmission cost adjustment increase, we're still $30 to $50 below our neighbors elsewhere in Connecticut per month. And I'll just wrap up, and I just wanted to give you a couple little particulars about our wholesale price and also our rate stabilization fund. We were paying $76.60, so just under $77 per megawatt hour prior. We now will be paying just under $104 per megawatt hour for our power cost. The rate stabilization fund stands at around $12 million today. However, if we did nothing, in about 12 months, it would essentially be zero. It'd be $0 to $1 million left in that rate stabilization fund. And we have all but a mandate to keep 3 months worth of power bills in that account, which would be $8.4 to $9 million in reserves. By doing the PPA and TCA now that we're doing, we believe we can hold the rate stabilization fund steady at around $8 million. And with that, I'll just open the floor for any questions.
Also, I sent the council a YouTube link, and Mark Beauchamp goes through the PPA and explains it in detail with slides and graphs to explain why we had to go with this now and with this value. I'll go with Deputy Mayor Depot. Did you want to start since you had questions?
Sure. Thank you. So thank you for answering all the numbers. So my concern, as I sent in my email to the mayor is, obviously it makes sense if we're basically kind of subsidizing power with a fund, then the fund continues to drop. That's not sustainable. Makes perfect sense. I think for me personally, it's easier to have the numbers to explain it. So again, thank you for bringing the numbers, because I will use these numbers to explain to people in person kind of how it works.
Sure.
My main question, and I don't know that this is really a question for you, honestly, is that, and this is the question I have and I've received from residents, is it is this council's job and the commission's job to approve rates and rate changes. And the way I read it, it says no rate or charge for any utility service shall be established until after a public hearing. And while I know that the purchase power adjustment has changed in the past, it's changed month by month, it's, doesn't mean that that's the way it was supposed to be. It could be. My question is, there's nowhere in the ordinance, unless I'm wrong, that says you're approving these rates are adjustable, and, you know, approving this rate schedule is along with the understanding that these few rates might be adjusted, you know, according to the market, rates. Because again, I'm not arguing that it needs to be done. My other question actually is, could we have done it on May 1st? Financially, would that have been doable, to do it May 1st instead of April 1st?
So I'm going to answer the first question
Sorry.
to the best of my ability. So certainly my interpretation would be that a rate was approved. And as a component of that rate were these two mechanisms that are explicitly designed to adjust based on market influences. And in the definition, which is in the ordinance, it does say that they do adjust between the base and whatever the wholesale market is. It would be at the very end of the rate ordinance.
It's the very last page of the ordinance that I provided to you today.
And then to answer the second question, so depending on the forecast window that you're reviewing, 12 or 18 months, any delay would be between 5 and 8% more on your purchase power adjustment. So by delaying it a month, on average, you would have a higher purchase power adjustment. So we moved deliberately and efficiently to, again, actually to try and minimize impacts to the best of our ability, considering the wholesale markets.
So I do think, it is my opinion, this information is included in the ordinance that we approved. So essentially, we approved that this rate, these two rates would vary. So I have no problem with that aspect of it. I do think, as always, the information isn't needed until an issue comes up. So I didn't realize how big of an impact that rate change would be. Like you said, it's a 17% increase on people's electric bills. But I do think, the way I read it, it is pretty clear in here that it's an adjustable, these two are adjustable rates, and that's in the ordinance that we approved as a council. So I think, and that was kind of my biggest issue with it. I do think that makes it okay in my mind. It is a difficult increase on people, and I've talked to people in the time since our last meeting. I do know, and again, I've encouraged people to reach out to Tina Daniels directly because she's great to work with. And we do have a lot of resources available, and I've just been encouraging people to use them because while it would be great if we didn't have to raise the rate, with the numbers that we have in front of us, I don't see a way that we could not adjust those rates and still be fiscally responsible with the utility. And I just want to say I appreciate everyone coming out to explain it and answer all our questions, because I think it is helpful to have the specific answers for residents. And I think that's I feel like that's my job. I should have the specific answers. That's my job to get them. So thank you.
Councilor McCabe, you have the floor.
I do understand that we have to be responsive to what the market prices are, what cadence do you use to reevaluate so that if the market does improve, that we would see it fall back to maybe where we are today?
So of course, we do review it and it's reported monthly. But we did decide during this process that we were gonna deliberately set the fall to really come back and evaluate it, to know if there's been any wholesale relief in the energy markets over the summer maybe, or did the forecast for next winter come down a little bit? So certainly in the fall, we want to take a close look at it.
Okay, thank you.
And that 6 month, so it falls out about 6 months or so, but what that does is that allows the utility, if we're going to change or reduce the PPA, do it in preparation for the winter months
Right.
coming in.
Correct, which is then that is when we always see the highest pricing in the winters. But this winter was especially high, obviously, and then I don't know that those pressures are going away.
Thank you.
Councilor Carter.
Thanks for coming. I did have the question, and it seemed to be answered as far as like, you know, the market and like if it's better, if it's gonna change. That's good and dandy. My question to you is, I use oil to heat, you know, for the winter, right? And I don't consider myself a particularly smart gentleman. I mean, too smart, maybe, you know. But I think this winter, like, I knew that the oil prices were going to be, like, way up here, right? So I prepared for that. We're changing prices this month, and we're putting this out there, like, now. Like, how come this wasn't something that was kind of foreseen that was going to happen? Because we knew that the prices, if the rates are correlate to the natural gas prices, and we see this, how come this is something that we didn't talk about over the summer?
Well, so I think I'll answer that in kind of two ways. One, yes, winter pricing is always high. This winter was specifically one of the highest on record. But that was somewhat forecasted in November-ish as far as winter. But what we've seen now is, and this has changed literally in the last 45 days, is that the pressure on natural gas is going to be sustained. So it's no longer 3 months of really high and then it kind of comes way down, right? It's going to be really, really high and then it's still going to be high for a sustained time. Right now, we're not forecasting really any relief on the wholesale side till maybe summer of 2023.
Mm-hmm. And I asked that just because, like I said, I plan on that as far as like, I mean, I'm trying to get better at my finances, trying to see what to expect, you know. But for the individual or the household that doesn't know what to expect and doesn't do that, I think as a business standpoint, maybe we can put something out there to kind of give people a warning of what to expect, you know. It's, you know, this is quite alarming for some people that can't afford this,
Absolutely.
you know. The second thing I would say is that when we just passed and we just moved on as far as increasing the prices of the sewer, it was explained to us that, okay, you know, this is, I remember somebody saying, oh, this is the equivalent of a box of pizza or something a month, you know. You know, we're increasing prices once again. Like, I think that we need to come at this or approach this a little better, because what's going to be next? You know, a bunch of little bits turn into a lot for maybe not some of us, but many people that I know. So,
Absolutely, I am completely empathetic for everybody right now. You know, every homeowner, every ratepayer, every resident is being squeezed from every side.
I got
They're
you.
paying more in the grocery store. They're paying more in their gas tank. They're paying
I got you.
more for goods.
I-
I feel for every single one of them.
Okay.
And I definitely empathize with that.
Okay, and I believe that. You know, I don't know you, but I believe that. Lastly is, you had said that if we do this, it should stabilize, you know, our fund. You said it should. Like, why wouldn't it? Like, in case, why wouldn't it? Why, how come we're not certain that it will?
Because you're still subject to market volatility. So if things change and the market comes down, then obviously we can reevaluate, we can lower the PPA if that came to pass. But you're still, at the end of the day, you do have some market exposure,
Okay.
and so therefore you have market risks so we're forecasting.
Okay.
And we're doing it to the best of our ability.
Okay, and the last thing, could you explain, just because people are listening, if this doesn't work out and the fund dwindles down and gets or depletes, right? What could happen?
Well, so we have a minimum that we need to keep. So the minimum is 3 months worth of power bills. That's between $8.4 to $9 million, depending on pricing. Power costs ultimately are a pass-through to the ratepayer. So we have as many levers that we can pull to mitigate those impacts. But certainly if wholesale prices went up even further, then it would ultimately be passed through to the customer.
All right, thanks.
And one of the reasons the decision was made to do this now was so not to deplete the rate stabilization fund and then get into an issue where we had to pass on a higher cost to the consumer. I mean, you know, I get it, and we get it, you guys get it here as a council, people will be coming and talking to you about it. But if you look around, I mean, this is nationwide, prices are going up. This is not, we're feeling it here, and we have another additional pressure because of the pipeline issue. But if we don't do this now, it could get worse in the end, and you have more that they're having to pick up. The rate stabilization fund, a lot of people don't understand this. So the rate stabilization fund is up at CMAQ. It is, when we take profits or things like that at the end of the year, it goes in the rate stabilization fund. The rate stabilization fund is just that. It is money that we use to offset the power cost and to help as a cushion for ultimately the end user, meaning the residents that are here. And that's what we're trying to do. So hopefully that answered your question.
It wasn't mine, but that was for people listening.
Okay? Well, hopefully that answers their question. Deputy Mayor Depot.
I think Steve might want
Okay? Councilor Sheffield.
Yes, I believe I spoke about this at some point last year regarding inflationary pressures when we first established the contract here for the 3 years. Where do you see, like I said, you know, inflation's like about 7.5. Is that part of that power price weighed in with inflation as well? Is that part of that, or is that something a little bit off, you
Yeah.
know?
I think you're seeing energy markets well above that.
Okay.
So, you know, yeah, nationwide, inflation is between the upper 6s to 8, right? The energy markets right now are substantially above that.
Above that, okay. And the next thing, would the service charge, would that change at all down to, because I know we had incremental service charges going up. Would that also be affected down the road as well, along with the,
So nothing other than the 2 adjustable components
okay,
is being changed from the approved rate case. Now,
Okay.
April 1st was a rate change that was approved. So you did see an increase in the fixed component, a decrease in the variable components, and now an increase in the PPA and TCA.
okay.
And that nets out to what we have been informing the customers in regards to the $19 per month or 17%.
Okay.
So
So-
the total impact should be that.
So we're gonna reevaluate in the fall to see if factors change
For those
Yeah.
two variable components?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Depot.
Okay, only a few more questions. So the numbers you gave me for the cost of purchase power is that it was at 70.76 and it went up to 104 something.
Yeah, so just under $77 and then just under 104.
So your increase, or the utilities increase in purchase power is around 40-something%. Right? Is that math right? Is that not a 40% increase? 40-something?
Probably about.
So it costs us 40-something% more to buy power, but because of our rate stabilization fund, while we are increasing costs, it's only increasing on average 17% for the ratepayers.
For the residential class, yes. Yes.
Okay. So I just want people to understand, because that is what that fund does, is instead of increasing at 40%, we're only having to increase it 17% because we have that fund. Correct? Is that,
Correct.
okay.
And we were able to get residents through this heating season, and I think that is important. It's important that we were able to get our ratepayers and people with electric heat, and we got them through the heating season without any increases. And we did that through the rate stabilization fund.
So this change is effective April 1st. Does that mean that it is effective for the use of April or the bills that come out in April?
Bills that come out in April, so there will be some March usage, especially in the early bills. So if your bill cycle is like the 10th, you're going to have some March usage. Should still be lower usage than when you were in peak winter, but you will have some March
Okay.
usage.
And then I have one last question, if I may,
Please, you have the floor.
for Tina
Well, I was going
Daniels.
to bring Tina up separately.
Oh, okay. I'll ask her then. when she-
Okay. Any other questions for Aaron? Counselor Norris?
Fascinated. All right. My notes look like an old atlas. Right. So the first thing I got to ask, is your purchasing power or the wholesale rate connected to usage of residents in commercial?
Yes and no. So there are fixed components
Mm-hmm.
which are not connected to usage, and there are variable components that are.
So but I guess what I'm asking is,
So it's a mixed bag.
when you say your wholesale rate went from 76 to 104, I understand inflationary and operating costs that influence that, but I'm also asking, does the usage for the city of Groton affect this rate also?
No, that's a levelized per unit cost.
Got it. All right. So then, I think I heard you say that we've used approximately $3 million out of the rate stabilization fund.
I would say over 3.5,
Over here.
Yeah.
In what time frame was that?
3 months.
3 months? So would it be fair to say that if we would delay from April 1st going to May 1st, it could cost us another just shy of $1 million out of this?
So we were burning over $1 million a month during the winter. Prices do come down a little bit from their peaks in winter, so I don't think you'd burn through it quite as fast. But certainly we would burn through it very quickly, and it would go to essentially somewhere between 0 and 1 in 12 months.
Okay.
So we would definitely go through it quickly.
So, monies in this fund, is it a planned generation or regeneration, or is it profits? I'm trying to figure out if that $3 million's gone, how do we get it back? Is it something, like I'm saying, is it a plan, or is it just like, hey, we got a couple of good years, monies go into this fund and we keep building? Or if the rate doesn't change again upward in the fall, do we continue to see the stabilization fund being used? Because they are, you guys know, they are projecting the wholesale cost of electricity to continue to rise, not decrease. So I guess that's what I'm trying to, and I'm not saying we shouldn't be doing what you're doing. I'm just trying to put it out there that, look, folks, things may not go down in the fall. You know, there's a potential that we are looking beyond 2023, and what does that mean for the stabilization fund? And I knew I just threw out a ton of hypotheticals at you, but
No, I think that's why we want to specifically look at it in the fall, because the most pressure on it will be in the winter. And so we want to have the most up-to-date forecast that we can leverage in order to set a plan
right,
in place. So that's why it's important to really look at it in the fall
right.
and see if things have subsided a little bit.
Sure, I will agree with you, because I know some communities across the country are doing it in like February, you know, so I do agree. March, April, and then early fall is probably a good way of looking at this. So,
Right. Some of our other neighbors in Connecticut went up in January
yeah,
by over 4.5 cents.
Okay.
So just, I think Groton Utilities does do a great job, especially in comparison with some of our other competitors maybe. But it's definitely hard on the end ratepayer, and that's not lost.
So one of the questions that Councilor Norris asked is about the rate stabilization fund. So how is the rate stabilization fund replenished? Is it monthly? Is it like a, checking account or a savings account that grows? Or is it annually? Or is there an event that triggers the rate stabilization fund to increase? Is that,
you asked that question much better than I did, yes.
well, I think I know where you're going, and I want to make sure that people understand. We don't have a money tree here, but we do have a mechanism. Membership has its privileges, if you will, and I'll let you.
Yeah, so
continue.
actually, I think Ron and I kind of were talking about that earlier. So if we budget our power costs, if what we budgeted is greater than what power costs came in for actuals, then the rate stabilization fund would actually grow. If actuals come in higher than what we budgeted, then you're going to see a drawdown. Does that answer the question?
What about profit taking? Right? Because sometimes we take, if there is a profit taking at CMEC, that is, the owners get to decide where that goes, right? Is Aaron the right
So
one to?
there are two other components, right? So you have equity and margin.
Yep.
Equity is essentially money that we hold there for debt coverage, I believe. Margin would be any profit that we may have from projects. And those often go into rate stabilization fund, although they don't have to.
So just in case you're not aware, between Groton Utilities and Bosra, we're about 57%. Is that correct?
Yeah, give or take.
Ownership?
Yep.
So we're about 57% owners of CMEC. So when it does come time for profit sharing and those kind of things, we get our appropriate share of that. And that's why I said membership has its privileges. Because there are profits that are taken, and those profits go into the rate stabilization fund. Typically.
Correct.
They're not required to, but they typically go into rate stabilization fund to offset the purchase cost of power. So, Councilor McCabe.
When you say typically, what is the criteria that you use to say this goes in the fund and this goes somewhere else? That,
I don't, well, since I've been here, it's always gone into rate stabilization, to my knowledge.
Ron, there was one time, back before I was mayor, I think, that the utility took a direct payment and did not go to rate stabilization. Is that correct, to your memory? Let's go to this, Ron.
Yeah, I believe it was the first couple of years they did the equity distribution. We actually took it out as a check. And we look at it when that equity distribution comes out, and one of the factors that we look at is cash on hand. I know in Basra, we have chosen to take the equity distribution just because of cash flow.
So that's what drives that. Did that answer your question?
think so,
Okay, so typically, we send it to rate stabilization
right.
in order to offset energy costs. Sometimes we can take it, for example, if there's a recommended amount of cash on hand they want you to have to pay the bills.
Yep,
If we don't have that, instead of taking it to rate stabilization, we could take a direct drawdown
yep,
and put it into cash so that we have cash on hand.
yep, got it.
Any other questions? Counselor Piazza?
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm just bringing this back down to the level of the constituents in Groton City. So you had mentioned about the home energy assessment, which I've had myself.
Yep.
But when they actually came in, so anything at the time when they did it, I've had it done twice. At the time when they did it the last time, so any other projects when you're talking about, so like if you're fixing drafts, any other things, light bulbs, they suggest whatever, that is a cost to the consumer.
It may have been at one time, so it's gone through different iterations. It is currently free to.
Okay, well, I caught it at the wrong time.
It is free to any ratepayer up to $3,000 worth of work.
Oh, okay,
It's free
okay,
to
so,
ratepayers.
all right, that's better, okay, so I caught it at the wrong time then, so.
Yeah. Was it $50?
No, it was actually 100.
Okay, yeah, one
Yeah.
iteration there was, okay.
Yeah, and I just had a couple things, so these are just simple things. When you said that there was a 1% decrease in electric usage, is that due to, because we're coming out of the winter? Or what
That was,
is lending to that?
sure, that was year over year for February, and that was for the entire region. So that was for
Okay.
all of New England in February of '22. Usage was down 1% over February of 2021.
And what's contributing to that, would you say? Do you have like facts on that, why that is, or people are just being more savvy, or because solar
Yeah.
panels, or I mean?
Typically, it's weather. So
Okay,
it-
just weather, so
yeah,
just plain old
typically.
weather. Okay, I just want to see, are we educating people more as far as, you know what I mean? Yeah, I just wanted to see what the contributing factors is to
Yeah,
that.
it could, it's.
And,
Sorry.
Go ahead.
A
No, no,
combination
go.
of probably conservation and weather.
Okay,
Weather being the dominant, though.
okay. Because I'm assuming that when you said average household uses less now, that's kind of tied in what you had said, 1% less, yes? Is that-
Yeah, so I know for Groton Utilities, our average resident has continued to conserve. So at one time, we benchmarked 750 kilowatt hours as our average, then it was 700. This last iteration, I think we saw an average around 633. So our ratepayers do continue to conserve.
Okay, and but you're saying that's more due to weather? And more due to people in Groton City using less, but I know you said region, but less due to maybe because it's, this is costing me a lot, so I'm going to crank down the thermostat less. I'm going to do this less. I'm going to really watch my lights, blah, 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 blah. Is that correct to say?
So though, I would say for the region at 1%, I would say that's probably more weather dependent than anything else. For Groton, I think there is quite a bit of conservation going on for us here locally.
Because as a Groton City resident, I can say that my bill from, say, starting May to about the fall is actually higher, due to, not air conditioning, I would say, is because we have a pool. So the pump is running more consistently.
Yeah.
So, but, I budget for that, but, so I am looking at the constituents in Groton City maybe using the air conditioning a little bit more, and how are they conserving that? And, what are we doing as far as helping our city residents in reference to conserving? And is that something we need to beef up? Is it something, on conservation,
Yeah.
education in that, what's best? Not only just like keep your house chillier to save money, but what else could be done, educationally? I know we're saying it here that there's home energy assessments, and I don't even remember how I learned about that. When we first moved in, it was probably a couple years after that when it was free. Then the second one was at the cost, but I only asked for it the second time around because I knew of it. I can't remember how I learned about it, to tell you the truth.
Right, yeah, we keep trying to spread the word about our conservation programs. Actually, we did a revamp of our residential programs in 2021. It was a huge success for us. It's the best customer engagement we've had, going back as far as I could track it. We nearly tripled customer engagement last year.
Okay.
We did over $400,000 worth of conservation incentives. So we're definitely starting to get the word out. And in regards to heating and cooling specifically, we do have heat pump mini split programs to help consumers save energy, especially over other fuel sources like oil or something like that. You can convert to a heat pump mini split, and Groton Utilities essentially will pay for the outside compressor, which is probably 50% of the project cost.
I just have a couple comments, I guess, in reference to that is that, so getting the word out, because when I used to get my bill via the mail, I used to, all the leaflets come and I read it. A lot of people throw in the trash. That may be how I learned about
No,
the
this
energy
guy
assessment thing. So, I used to, but I do read everything in it. But now that it's all basically on, online, just wondering if that's something that goes out in the Groton City newsletter by chance, so that we can put that out there. What was my other thing? I was going to say that I actually had an issue with my furnace. It's a big, long story, but somehow, some way, I was able to do an application through the state. So I just wanted to throw that out there to the city residents that it was just by chance calling somebody in the town that referred me to this program. So I didn't know. I made so many calls and didn't even know this was actually out there, and was able to apply and receive a furnace. So. Yeah, which didn't even know the program was out there. So I do want people in Groton City and everywhere to know that there are, you just keep reaching out and keep reaching out to others and touching base. There are programs out there, but I was not aware until somebody actually from the town hall, when I called, I was like, hey, I don't know what to do. And this gentleman happened to say, call this number. So I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Depot.
This isn't really a question, but an idea.
Hold on a second. That number, by the way, is 860-446-4000. 860-446-4000. That's customer service, and they will direct your question to wherever you need it. It's just the easiest way to go about it. My apologies. Please.
So listening to Councilor Piazza made me think of this. I know that we have a big presence at City Day, the utility does. Would it be possible, I know that one of my, so I've never done an energy audit, and I have lived in the city for a very long time. I'm sure that we talk about them at City Day. Is it possible to schedule them at City Day? Would it be, because I know for me, if I went up to someone and they were like, hey, you should do an energy audit, and I whipped out my phone and I said, okay, when can I do that? And I made the appointment right there, I'm a million times more likely to do that.
I think that's a great idea. We'll work with our, no.
I know that's a pain, I'm sorry, but I think you'll
No.
probably catch so many more customers.
Talking about it, I'm like, well, we could just have our vendor there, that's really.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's a third-party vendor that does this, so we would need to get the vendor there. However, they're our vendor, right? So we could probably do that,
I mean, I was,
and then, yep,
I think that's a
absolutely,
fantastic idea. If we can collaborate with them, absolutely.
absolutely.
Fantastic idea.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I know, I was gonna say, I'm gonna remember at City Day, and that's when I'm gonna make the appointment, so.
But now I need a pen.
Any other questions or comments for Aaron? Okay, Aaron, thank you very much
Thank you, Mayor.
for explaining this and going into it. Tina, if I could get you to come up real quick. I want you to talk about the customer service aspect of this. There was a question last week about shut-offs and those kind of things, and if you could walk us through what we do, what customer service does to help people so that they don't get their power turned off.
Okay, well, currently what we're doing, and we usually start this around the 1st of February, we actually start calling all the customers that have delinquent, outstanding bills. And we're actually calling them and we're emailing them, asking them to get payment arrangements, explaining, if you currently don't have energy assistance or you won't qualify for it, that, April 1st, when that comes around, that you could be, disconnected for non-payment if you don't have a payment arrangement on file. And we continuously reach out and email customers with every single shut-off, giving them the dates to contact us to make payment arrangements. Anybody who has energy assistance, they still fall under the winter moratorium, which is actually ends May 1st. But we continue to, as long as the customer's calling us and they're attempting to make payments, we're making arrangements with the customers. There is a significant amount of money out there for individuals that need assistance. We just received another huge disbursement from TVCCA today for almost 200 grand from customers that applied from October 2021 to March 8th. And the individuals are receiving up to $1,000 towards their utility bills. So TVCCA, Project Warm Up, they're increasing the money. Where we would traditionally see like $550, we're seeing $1,800, $750 assisting customers. United CT is still assisting customers and dispersing money out for rental assistance, also for their utilities. There's State of Connecticut also has assistance for water customers. That if a customer's having issues paying their water bill, they can actually go through Groton Social Services and they will assist with customers getting their water bills paid and their utility bills paid. So there's a tremendous amount of money out there for customers that need assistance.
Councilor McCabe.
So if a customer has a delinquent bill and they maybe are not eligible or for some reason have not been able to reach out to this money that's available to them, and they reach out to you, can a program of payback that may not be the entire amount just continually show that they're attempting to make payments? Is that something that they could do to not have their power get turned off?
Absolutely, absolutely. We will work with any customer that's willing to work, sign a payment arrangement, and adhere to it. And that's the biggest thing that a customer has to do is just reach out to us. We understand. I mean, I've got a lot of individuals that I work with that they're single mothers, and yeah, or single families, and they understand about struggling, and we'll do whatever we can do to help a customer to be able to get their utility bills paid. But the customer has to also meet us halfway. I mean, the last thing I want to do is roll out our trucks and interrupt people's power or have to interrupt their water. I don't want to do that. Unfortunately, sometimes you have to where you're just not getting met halfway, and I know it's a little uncomfortable for some people to ask for help or go to these agencies, but that's why they're there. They're there to help individuals. There's Sailor Soldier Fund to help Marine or ex-military or current military. I mean, there's so much money out there to assist people.
Deputy Mayor Depot.
I know that when we do the food box distributions, I hear all the time, someone else probably needs it more than me. And I'm betting that's probably the case with electric and water assistance, is that people either think they won't qualify or they think that someone else needs it more than them. So how often do you find that people apply and get rejected completely for assistance?
Not a lot. They'll try to assist. Like with Groton Social Services, they've got a fund that they can actually do a one-time reimbursement of maybe $200 or $300 a one-time reimbursement for a customer. But the money's out there. For example, this year, was it this year? It was towards the end of 2021, there was so much excess money left over from TVCCA that every single customer that applied, whether it was wood, oil, electric, didn't matter, and they were approved, whether it was $200, whatever, they all got a $700 reimbursement, an additional $700. So the money's there, and Yeah, the money's there, and I know, and somebody needs it more, and we deal with that a lot, and we try to do everything we can to get the customer to try to use these agencies.
So I just want to say from that, the way I look at it and the way I tell people is apply and let them decide. Don't make a decision for yourself whether or not you qualify for assistance. There are people who are doing that, and they keep the fund balance that they have for their monies. And like you said, there was leftover money because not as many people applied as they probably expected. So I just want to the 13 people that watch us, I'm just kidding. But I just want to encourage the council too, because I know that I talk to people all the time, and I have a copy of your business card on my fridge, and I have given your number out before and your email to have people contact you, and instead of wondering if you qualify, just apply and then see if you qualify. And if there's money available, let them decide whether or not they have the money for you. Don't do it the other way around, because there is money available. And I think that, again, just like with the food boxes, if you'll eat it, we'll give it to you. If you need food, if it's going to help you pay other bills, we'll give it to you. If you need electric assistance and it helps you put food on your table, apply. And, yeah, so I just want to encourage everybody to spread the word as much as possible. I always do try to tell people, call, apply for assistance. If it will help you pay your bills, please do that.
Absolutely. I'm a big believer in, if you don't ask the question, the answer is no, right? But if you do ask, it could be yes, it could be no, it could be maybe, we'll see what we can do. But please ask the question. Councilor Carter.
I mean, I just want to move on. I wasn't going to say anything, because we're a bit on the same thing. But I've worked with the population and several people that can't pay their bills, and et cetera, and I think there's just a big difference between somebody in a rut and having build up and having arrears and needing that help right then and there to call TVCCA to pay their bills. There's a big difference between that person and then somebody that actually can't pay their bills on a monthly basis. And if you're calling TVCCA every month, there's some type of problem. And it's just unfortunate that we've got to the point where it's like, and it's not the utilities' fault, but it's like, heat, hot water, and that should be like a mandatory thing that everybody has, It's just it's tough. So I'm just saying, it might not be that whole, they might be afraid to call. It's just that, when are they supposed to call every month? Because there is that person that needs to call that just can't afford it. That's all I'm saying. So.
Well, and that's a larger issue, and I really don't want to get into it here, but you're right about a living wage and having living wages, and you have people that are working 2 and 3 jobs just to try to make ends meet. But if the answer is to call every month in order to help, then do that, right? I mean, if they got to feed their kids, you don't want the kids to go hungry, right? Well, I understand.
It shouldn't have. I'm saying it shouldn't have to. And there's some agencies, TVCCA, that there's certain, like, you can't call every month.
Right.
What I mean? So.
Yep. Well, we can have this conversation offline. We can talk more about it.
If,
Okay.
no, and here's one of the things, if I can just so that you're aware, I mean, we actually direct a lot of customers to TVCCA and to Groton Social Services that we know that they might not qualify for energy assistance, but they will qualify for other assistance that will assist them to free up monies so they'll be able to pay your utility bills. TVCCA and Groton Social Services are an amazing organizations. I mean, and they help from childcare to, if you have to, need a place to live. They work with MASH out of Mystic. I mean, it's both organizations. Yeah, they do an incredible job. to try to help in every way possible that they can. If they can't assist on the utility bill, will try to find any way that they can help a customer to be able to relieve some of that to assist for additional money.
Deputy Mayor, well, I'll get to you in a second. Deputy Mayor Depot.
I was just going to
And then
say,
we'll go
I know
back.
that we refer them to Groton Social Services too. I know this because someone I know actually recently went there to their food bank, and they have quite the robust food bank sometimes
Yes.
available, and I
Yes.
don't think people are aware.
Yes.
Additionally, I assume that you guys do this because you, Groton Utilities sometimes helps fund our food box distributions, but I assume that you also have the list of the United Way local food box distributions. If not, that might be another good thing to add. It's just, because the United Way comes out with like a one sheet every month of where they are, because there's a bunch of them in neighboring towns. That might be a good,
We don't, but absolutely, absolutely, I will get on that tomorrow morning, and get that out. And if any of the counselors would like to have, I mean, I have a little cheat sheet that we have out, that if a customer walks in, that we give them with every single organization around here that we've used or been able to capitalize to help individuals with money, from Jewish Federation to Catholic Charities to whatever, with all the numbers and all that stuff. I mean, I can get a bunch of the individual cards for you guys to have and be able to disperse them as you need to.
That makes me think of something packed, the police community together. The police was building a database, similar to 211, of local organizations to reach out for lots of reasons, whether it's counseling or abuses or money, or, I mean, it just cover the whole gamut. Let me reach out to the chief and see if I can get that, and I'll get that list to the council. Anything else for Tina? Councilor Piazza.
Thank you, Mayor. So to get this information out is good. So, I mean, so feeding off of what Deputy Mayor Depot said is like maybe Groton City Day, we could also have this information available to the people, whether it's for themselves or somebody else they know is in need. Going back to people maybe needing this monthly, it just makes me think about a church I used to belong to, that when people came back monthly for need, whatever it was, that they ended up also having a referral. They actually had people who were connected as far as budgeting, finances, and so forth. So that was an educational thing to see what the need was. I mean, sometimes it just happens, you know, some people have illnesses or whatever, but just to see. So when you actually dig deeper with them, further down the line, we can help assist them. And I didn't know if that was something that's within your contact information, you know, that, you know, so it's like, oh, I need food, so I'm going to apply, and I might get food stamps or some help. But if you see somebody monthly, if we catch them like 2 or 3 months into it, that, hey, you know, so what is impacting this person? Definitely, you know, is it medical issues? Is it this or this and this? And do we have contacts for that to help them not need monthly? You know, and it's not about not needing us, but it's a matter of, you know, what's the deeper issue here that maybe we could assist you with? And I didn't know if that was another informational tool or number that you have contact that somebody actually assists them in that.
Yep, and I can reach out, because I know Groton Social Services, they actually do a lot of that with their clients. They assist with budgeting and trying to get to the bottom of what's going on. I can also reach out to TVCCA and find out if they have a particular organization, and I can actually get that in the fingertips of the customer service reps and that stuff also. Absolutely.
I do want to also comment that I have used Department of Social Services myself at one time, but did not know they actually help people with their animals, and they have food for the animals.
Yes.
And some people don't realize that, you know, and they're just like, sometimes they even share their own food with their animals, you know, but there is pet food, you know, and there's different places that have that. So there's a lot of resources to reach out to. So whatever you have, you know, just talk to somebody.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Tina, thank you. Groton Utilities, thank you for coming out and helping us to understand this. So, So back here are the budget books. Today's April 4th. I'm required to provide you with the budget on the first Monday of April. And then we will start the budget season next Monday. But I will read you the letter that I have. This is the mayor's budget message for fiscal year 2022-23. Dear members of the city council, as required by Article 6, Section 2A of Charter, I submit to you the proposed budget for fiscal year 2023, FY23. I'm submitting a budget which includes an increase of $904,145 in comparison to FY 2022. The proposed budget includes half the funding for the Shore Avenue seawall reconstruction project, as well as additional contractual services for assistance with the inspections that may be required due to large construction projects. As in the fiscal year 2022 budget, these additional contractual services will be funded through the use of fund balance based on the unexpected contractual services that were budgeted for FY 2020, FY 2021, and FY 2022. This budget also follows the FY 2022 budget with funding for capital projects and continues efforts to reserve funds for future purchases of vehicles. The use of the undesignated fund balance will be $2,500,000. This would leave a healthy reserve of 26.15%, slightly more than FY 2022. The proposed budget would produce a 0.63 or 15% decrease in the mill rate to 3.67. The mill rate will be updated once we receive the 2021 grand list after the Board of Assessment Appeals actions. The city continues to be fiscally responsible. Sincerely, Keith Hedrick. So the budgets will be available for your pickup after the end of the meeting. And make sure that you get there's 2 empty binders in there. Don't grab the empty binders. Grab the full binders. And continuing on April 14th, we have a Complete Streets Public Workshop that you can go onto the website and you can see where to sign up for that. On Friday, April 22nd, United Way Mobile Food Pantry at St. John's Christian Church from 12:30 to 2:30. On April 16th, there's a pop-up farmer's market. Well, first of all, on April 16th, there's the extravaganza. We're bringing the Easter egg hunt back to the city of Groton like we've done it before. COVID kind of shut us down a little bit first year, and then second year we had the drive-through with handing out bags and Easter baskets, things like that. But the extravaganza will start at 10 o'clock. It'll probably be over by 10:01, based on past history with all the kiddos. And then we'll have a pop-up farmer's market indoors from 10:30 to 1. And on 4/23, we have 2 things happening: the Little League opening day and the City of Groton cleanup day, which starts at 11 o'clock. So, and I want to tag off of something that Deputy Mayor Depot said. On Saturday, we are presenting the budget to the town council. It'll be the highway budget and the police budget. And so police, and in there, we have the seawall down on Shore Avenue. And it's a large purchase. We're asking for $1.4 million this year. We're trying to find additional funds from, we're working with Congressman Courtney's office now, try to get additional funds for that, matching funds. And, but we're asking the town to do this purchase because if you go back to the special act that created a city in 1964, it states that the town is responsible for those provide those monies that are necessary and proper for the making and repairing of roads that are the town roads in the city of Groton. And this falls under that because it is a retaining wall on Shore Ave that holds up that road. And if you've been down there, you've seen it. see that it doesn't look nice. And it's not that it's not pretty. If you go look at the cracks and the bulges, we're also getting with the tides coming in, it's underwashing, and it is not pinned to the bedrock. So the concern that I have is that eventually it may fall and collapse under its own weight. And so we've already presented that to the three on three and had some questions on that. I provided some additional information to the council so that they can review that in preparation for this, for Saturday's meeting. So if the seawall is important to you, reach out to the town councilors. Go on to the town council website. There's 9 of them. Call them up, send them an email. Tell them it's important to you and you would like them to fund that in this year's budget. So, thank you. And town council, that you can reach out to your fellow councilors and express your concerns for the 2 budgets and your support and ask for their support of both budgets. All right, that moves us to committee referrals. Are there any committee referrals?
None.
Okay, we'll move on. New business, Councilor Norris.
R-22-04-37. Therefore be resolved that the mayor and council approve the reappointment of Jeffrey Godley of 132 Tyler Avenue, Groton, Connecticut, as a regular member of the Groton Utilities Commission, term to expire on May 31st of 2026. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Councilor McCabe.
Resolution R-22-4-38. Therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council appoint Joan M. Feeney to the Youth Advisory Committee for the purpose of advising the mayor and council on issues related to the community's youth, term to expire on March 7th, 2024. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Councilor Sheffield.
What about me?
Oh, sorry. You know what? I looked at your name and I flipped right over to the next one. Deputy Mayor Tipo.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution R-22-4-39. Therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council appoint Lisa Lambert to the Youth Advisory Committee for the purpose of advising the mayor and council on issues related to the community's youth, term to expire on March 7th, 2024. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further, this was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Councilor Sheffield.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution R-22-04-40. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council approve the appointment of Jennifer Smith, 67 Tyler Avenue, Groton, Connecticut, as a regular member, Beach and Parks Committee, term to expire on December 31st, 2023. I so move.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any, this was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Councilor Piazza.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution R-22-04-41. Therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize and approve a donation of $400.00 to Fleet Reserve Association 242 Thames Street, Groton, Connecticut. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Councilor Carter.
R-22-04-43.
42.
We're not at 43?
42.
42. Oh, 42.
My fault. R-22-04-42. Therefore, be resolved that the mayor and council authorize and approve the expenditure of 10,000. Is it supposed to have the numeric?
Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
$10,000 And do you just want me to say 0 cents or just say $10,000?
You're good.
All right. $10,000 to the Thames River Heritage Park Foundation for the purposes of supporting the program year 2022 operating expenses of the Thames River Heritage Park water taxi. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Counselor Norris.
With pleasure, Mayor. R-22-04-43, therefore may be resolved that the mayor and council approve the temporary use and consumption of alcohol at Eastern Point Beach on September 10th, 2022 as part of the Groton City Beer Run hosted by the Greater Mystic Chamber of Commerce and sponsored by Groton Utilities pursuant to provisions of Eastern Point Beach rules and regulations. I so move.
Second.
Okay, yeah, Brew Run, but that's good.
Oh, sorry.
This is discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Counselor McCabe.
Resolution R-22-4-44. Therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize and approve the city of Groton to enter into an agreement with JJS Universal Construction, 63 Airport Road, Dudley, Massachusetts, for the replacement of the Public Works salt shed roof for a total price not to exceed $38,498.90, inclusive of a 10% contingency to be paid from the municipal grants and aid funds. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This is discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Deputy Mayor Depot.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution R-22-4-45. Therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize and approve the city of Groton entering into an agreement with Gateway Fence and Guardrail LLC of 36 Red Hill Road, Branford, Connecticut, for the replacement of baseball field fencing on Field 3 at Washington Park for a total price of $16,465.00 to be paid from budgeted capital funds. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This is discussed at the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Counselor Sheffield.
Resolution R-22-04-46. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council initially approve an ordinance authorizing the mayor and council to approve increases to retirees' pension up to and including those who retired in 2018 as recommended by the City of Groton Retirement Board. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This is discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you all for coming out.
Thank you.
Megan, Noemi, thank you very much for what you're doing. Don't forget to turn off your